I now call to speak Johnathan Sheppard, who is our prospective parliamentary candidate for the constituency of York City.
Good afternoon. In the year I was born, 1975, Europe was top of the political agenda, and the then Labour government was prepared to grant voters their say on the subject through a referendum. In the official government publication which I've got here, it states, "The choice is up to you. It is your decision." They say that a week in politics is a long time, so I don't know what 21 years would be. But what I do know is that during those years, the European Union has transformed itself from a club to promote the virtues of free trade into something very different, and that not once have we, the British voters, been consulted about this. This is wrong. To Mr. Major and Mr. Blair, I say this: stop running from the British public. Now, I'm sure all of us here love our families, but that doesn't mean we dislike everybody else's. Therefore, just because we love our country, it doesn't mean we're anti-European. The nation-state may indeed have a shelf life, but I believe that time has not yet come. This is your choice, and it's your future. The time has come to let the people decide. Thanks. Our next speaker is Philippe De Villiers, who was born in France in 1949. After a distinguished career in the French civil service, he resigned his office following the election of François Mitterrand. He entered politics immediately thereafter in 1986, on the return of the Conservative government, and was appointed Junior Minister for Culture and Communication. In 1988, he was elected MP for the Vendée region in France, and shortly thereafter became chairman of the Conseil Général of Vendée. In 1994, jointly with Sir James Goldsmith, he formed a new party in France to contest the European elections. The party obtained over 12% of the votes, which is only about 1% less than the vote obtained by Mitterrand's Socialist Party. 13 of its members were elected to the European Parliament. A year later, Philippe De Villiers stood for the French president's elections and obtained 1.5 million votes. Chairman and founder of the movement Pour la France Party, Philippe De Villiers has pledged to put forward candidates in all constituencies in the next general election. They will call for a referendum on France's relationship with Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Philippe De Villiers.
Ladies and gentlemen, my dear Jamie, it is a great pleasure to be here. It is reassuring to see that here in Brighton we can debate the fundamental issues that Europe has to face and which our governing elites tried to hide. Ladies and gentlemen, I beg your pardon, but my French is so bad that I prefer to speak to you in English. As you can hear, it is the first time I have been invited to speak in English, so I seek your indulgence. Today, France is a sick man of Europe. We have lost our self-confidence and our national prestige is tarnished. Above all, our sovereignty is being abandoned, perhaps irreversibly, while our people are being kept purposely in the dark. On the contrary, massive propaganda efforts financed by the European Commission are currently being deployed so as to mislead us. For more than a decade, France has been pursuing a tragically ill-conceived policy. It is a policy that the Eurocrats are attempting to impose on all the peoples of Europe. Our economy is in a deep recession. If the true figures were published, it would be seen that, in fact, it is contracting. The rate of unemployment keeps rising inexorably. The official government figures show unemployment at a level of more than 3 million people. But when you analyze the figures produced by the government's own Office of Statistics, you will find that a tragedy is taking place. The real level of unemployment and underemployment is about 7 million people. Our public deficits are far greater than those officially recognized. Our government uses creative accounting, indeed false accounting, so as to be able to satisfy the convergence criteria of Maastricht. Every trick in the accounting book is brought into play. Furthermore, the rate of taxation relative to our gross national product is the highest in Europe. How is it possible that a government should wish to impose such torment on its people? The reason is simple. Our governing elite has forced the French people to subjugate their well-being to the ideology of economic and monetary union and the single currency. Since 1988, our currency has been fixed to the Deutschmark. In fact, it has been subservient to the Deutschmark, with the disastrous results that are now apparent. Our economy is no longer run to create prosperity, stability, and contentment for our own people. It is run to satisfy the ideology of the German Central Bank and the Eurocrats. Of course, you could answer that this is our fault. After all, we were granted a referendum in September 1992 on the Maastricht Treaty, and just over 50% voted yes. But our referendum was not much different from the one you were granted in 1975. The people were misled. Vast amounts of propaganda money were spent to disinform the French people. And of course, we were told the usual lies. We were told that our sovereignty would be preserved, that the single currency was an economic and not a political tool, and that it would bring growth and employment. Since then, all that has been shown up for what it is: evil, disinformation. The establishment, almost to a man, were willing to sacrifice the nation to what they perceived as being short-term benefits for industry. At no time has the government and the establishment had the guts to carry through the vital internal reforms that Margaret Thatcher brought about in your country. That is why we have decided to continue in France to fight against Maastricht and against the arrogance of our governing elite. Following the success that Jimmy and I achieved during the European election of 1994, I have created a new political party, le Mouvement pour la France, which will field candidates during the next general election scheduled for 1998. I am confident that France will join Britain in its battle for freedom and democracy. I hope that in France we will succeed by democratic processes and not, as has often been the case in our history, through the streets. We, in the Mouvement pour la France, feel closely allied to you in the referendum party. We wish you every success. Long live a free Britain. Long live a free France. And long live a free Europe.